It's Thursday, November 13th, 2025. Welcome to episode 180 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. I've got a little rockin' and rollin' to do this weekend, so the Postcast is in your feed a day early this week. In this edition, the FBI asks ICE agents to identify themselves. The former Rockwall wine property is up for lease. Traffic calming, inclusionary housing, and Mylar balloons on tap at City Council. The latest real estate sales. The Scouts need you to step up to help the food bank. Lots of weekend events. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story: unless it's Batman or the Lone Ranger, the good guys rarely wear masks. Since the ramp-up of immigration enforcement, the tactics of ICE have drawn scrutiny, notably for the agents routinely covering their faces. California's SB 627, also known as the No Secret Police Act, was signed into law on September 20th and goes into effect on January 1st. It prohibits an officer of any local, state, or federal law enforcement agency from covering their face during operations, with some notable exceptions such as SWAT, medical masks, and wildfire smoke gear. It also mandates visible identifiers such as name or badge numbers on uniforms. Now comes word from the FBI itself issuing a warning that criminals are posing as agents of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and urging actual ICE agents to clearly identify themselves. On Monday, State Senator Jesse Adergin issued an email to constituents confirming that FBI warning. In the email, the senator wrote, quote, "This alert from the FBI is a loud and unmistakable signal that our work is not just timely, it's critical for public safety. When armed operatives walk into our communities obscuring their face without a badge or a name, the public's trust is broken and the risk to everyone increases. That risk is significantly heightened when there are known impersonators exploiting ICE's propensity to withhold their identity. Public safety demands that ICE immediately comply with SB 627 rather than wait until next year," end quote. He continued, quote, "SB 627 is precisely the kind of legislation that addresses this moment, requiring transparency, accountability, and identifiable law enforcement personnel. The fact that the FBI is effectively telling ICE to identify themselves proves that we can no longer postpone this reform," end quote. Full story at alamedapost.com/news. The Rockwall Winery in Building 24 on Alameda Point closed its doors in February of 2022 and vacated the premises that June. Now, the process of finding a new tenant has kicked into high gear. According to a San Francisco Business Times report, 6 companies want to lease the space, but one has already been eliminated. In a closed City Council session on November 4th, City Council discussed possible rental price and lease terms. Director of Base Reuse, Abby Thorne-Lyman, told the Business Times that City Council could select tenants as soon as the first quarter of 2026. St. George Spirits was interested in leasing the Rockwall building for barrel storage. However, a company spokesman told the Business Times, quote, "The City of Alameda has informed us that they are going to go another direction with the building, but we have not yet learned what they plan to do with it," end quote. The other 5 companies still in the running are reportedly Macro Oceans, a Sacramento-based company that transforms seaweed into beauty products and food; San Francisco's Paceline Investors, which owns a portfolio of office and life science buildings; Blue Cycle Recycling LLC; the Prep Station, which has an industrial kitchen on Monarch Street; and Complete Coach Works, an employee-owned bus repair company, which currently has a month-to-month lease at Building 24. The city spent $2 million to install a new roof and make other upgrades at the 63,000-square-foot building. Story at alamedapost.com/news. This coming Tuesday, the City Council will address quick-build traffic calming measures in the Gibbons Drive neighborhood by 2026 through 2027, followed by data collection and a temporary pilot for turn restrictions at the Gibbons High Fernside intersection in 2028. The plan responds to safety issues and community feedback regarding traffic speeds, cut-through driving, and pedestrian safety. The first phase of work includes installing a paint and post bulb out at Gibbons High Fernside, building quick build roundabouts and temporary ADA curb ramps at key intersections, and adding speed humps on Gibbons, Southwood, and Cambridge drives. After that, the goal is to develop a long-term intersection design and funding plan. Also on the Council's agenda, a workshop to provide input on potential updates to Alameda's inclusionary housing ordinance, which requires that 15% of housing units in projects with 5 or more units be deed-restricted affordable housing. Updates will aim to maintain development feasibility while increasing affordability, as well as Alameda's competitiveness for state and regional housing and infrastructure grants. Alameda's existing ordinance requires 4% very low, 4% low, and 7% moderate income units for 59 years. However, staff has found that moderate income rental units are often priced close to market rents, providing limited affordability benefits. City is reconsidering these ratios to better align with housing needs and development feasibility. Another item up for discussion, a ban on the sale of Mylar balloons. California AB 847 already mandates the elimination of metallic balloon sales in California by 2031. You may wonder why the consideration of a balloon ban. Mainly, a Mylar balloon's effect on electrical lines. Locally, Alameda Municipal Power documented 54 balloon-related callouts over 5 years, with 7 outages affecting up to 200 customers. Each of those incidents costs about $25,000 in labor and equipment. Local sellers report Mylar balloons make up about 80% of balloon sales. They oppose voluntary phase-outs, citing demand and lack of effective alternatives. If you've ever thrown a party, you know one of the selling points of Mylar, in addition to the multiple designs, is that they tend to stay inflated for a long time in comparison to latex. For full details, including ways you can make your voice heard, see Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. As we do every 2 weeks, a look at the latest residential real estate sales, courtesy of Liz Rush. For the period of October 28th to November 10th, 20 homes changed hands, 15 in Alameda proper, 5 on Bay Farm. Widest price range we've seen in some time, with a low of $485,000 and a high of $4,700,000. Average time from listing to offer ticked down from 2 weeks ago, settling in at just under 4 weeks. Throw out one property at 1,000 Sherman that accounted for 192 days. That average falls to 2.5 weeks. 16 properties sold for above listing, 3 at and 1 below asking price. Full details on all the properties at alamedapost.com/real-estate. Last week, I gave a shout out to the local Girl Scouts for their post-Halloween cleanup efforts at Franklin Park. You can find Victoria Diaz's story with pictures at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Now it's Scouting America's turn. Between the government shutdown, uncertainty over SNAP, and inflation in general, food insecurity has taken center stage. The Alameda Food Bank is seeing numbers that exceed those of the COVID era. You may have seen a door hanger on your home last weekend letting you know about Scouting for Food this Saturday, November 15th. You can donate canned goods, coffee, tea, condiments, international foods, unexpired non-perishables, diapers, baby wipes, and small paper goods by placing them on your front porch or steps in view of the street with a hang tag visible. That will help the Alameda Food Bank serve the more than 1,400 families they see each week. If you didn't receive a tag, you can donate in person between 9 and 11 a.m. at one of 3 locations: Harbor Bay Isle Community Center on Bay Farm, Alameda Elks Lodge on Santa Clara, and the former Food Bank location at 650 West Ranger Avenue on Alameda Point. Monetary donations always needed. Remember, $1 donated to the food bank has 7 times the purchasing power that you do. Details on Scouting for Food, including a donation link at alamedapost.com/news. High school theater season in full swing. Our own Gene Kahane has been making the rounds. Keep an eye out at alamedapost.com/arts for reviews of the productions at Alameda Community Learning Center, Encinal, and St. Joe's. On the subject of local high schools, congratulations or condolences, depending on which side of the Island Bowl rivalry you're on. The Hornets continued their excellent season, moving to 9-1 on the year thanks to a 39-0 shutout of the Jets in the 70th anniversary game. The Jets fall to 2-8 on their 2025 campaign. That means the Hornets have now won 3 in a row, ending a Jets dynasty that went 13 of 15 from 2007 to 2022. The all-time rivalry now stands at 35-33 in favor of Alameda, with 2 ties. Amanda Laird has rounded up some great one-time events in this week's All-Around Alameda column. Tonight, Thursday, head to Books Inc. as our own Karen Jensen discusses her award-winning book, The Strength of Water, an Asian-American coming-of-age memoir. Discussion begins at 5:30. Karen will be signing copies. On Saturday, the USS Hornet Sea, Air, and Space Museum hosts Techs on Deck from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., a chance for teachers and students to meet with real-life science and technology innovators, learn about internships and early career paths in the sciences. Afterwards, head to Rhythmix Cultural Works for a family-friendly Diwali celebration beginning at 4:30. On Sunday, take advantage of the earlier sunset with the Alameda Neon Walking Tour beginning at 5:30. Looking ahead to Wednesday, the Rake at Admiral Maltings presents a 5-course beer and sushi pairing. Due to the incredibly wide flavor ranges of beer, it's actually easier to pair food with beer than it is with wine. Details on all these events in All Around Alameda at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Another fun event this Saturday, Pacific Pinball Museum surplus sale. If you've never seen the PPM Annex on Alameda Point, it's worth the visit, even if you're not in the market. 1680B Viking Street, just behind the former Pottery Barn outlet location. Event runs 11 to 3. Details on the museum's Facebook page. Hope you can join me for the Alameda Connection at 8 a.m. Sunday on KCSM HD2, and my guest will be Laura Fees, Executive Director of the USS Hornet Museum. If you missed the broadcast, it's available on demand from the KCSM HD2 schedule page, usually by 9:30, and a week later in your podcast feed or on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms, now including TikTok. You can subscribe to us on Apple News and sign up for our weekly newsletter at alamedapost.com/newsletter. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back a week from Friday with episode 181 of the Alameda Postcast.